Allah created Shaitan or Satan, a being that is loved very much by Allah, while knowing that he would challenge Allah, deceive human beings into worship false gods, and to put them in the wrong path. Also, Allah knew that Shaitan himself would burn in hell more than anybody, probably to the extent which he would regret the fact that he himself being created. And Allah knew all of that even before creating Shaitan or anybody, since he's all-knowing and all-powerful. Allah knows all things and everything even before they happen. And Allah knows how a being gonna end up even before he creates him. And Allah knew all of that and everything even before Shaitan or anybody being created, before anything being created at all. Why would Allah create such a being that he loves very much, knowingly that such being would end up in hell and suffer more than anybody? Shaitan is the second most educated and the smartest being in the universe, only second to God. Why the second most smartest being is so stupid? Shaitan knows Qur'an and he knows he himself that would burn in hell for eternity. So why such an intelligent being, while knowing, do something stupid like that? If it's arrogance, stupidity is what causes arrogance. And why does all non-Muslims going to hell? All humans are loved 7 times more than their own mothers by Allah. All of the humanity is loved 7 times more than one's own mother by Allah. And Allah is all-knowing, all-powerful. He knows how a being would end up even before he creates them. So since God is all-knowing, why does Allah create beings that he loves so much, knowing that they would go to hell and suffer, probably to the point that such a being would regret the fact that he was created? If it wasn't for Shaitan or Satan being created, none of this would have happened. There would be no non-Muslims and all the humanity would have been saved from hellfire. So God created Shaitan, a being which is loved very much by Allah, knowing that he would refuse to bow down to Adam and Eve when they were created, knowing that he would challenge God, knowing that he would start all this catastrophe, knowing that he would send a lot of human beings that Allah loves 7 times more than their own mothers to Jahannam or hell, and knowing that Shaitan himself would go to hell and suffer more than anybody, probably to the point that he will regret being created. Why creating Shaitan just so he himself and bunch of others would suffer in hell that Allah himself loves very much? Why creating such a race? And who is the real Iblis or devil here? And if it's for Muslims to appreciate achieving heaven, why hurting one child just so another would appreciate not being hurt? If I was to have a child that I know would go to a penitentiary and spend the rest of his life in misery, I wouldn't want him. I hope I would have known something like that beforehand so I could have avoided it. And if I knew something like that, and I still brought him into existence just so he would suffer, on my behalf, it's a crime. Even though I didn't cause all that suffering myself, I created roots for them to happen. It's a crime, and it's a sin. And don't try to cover up contradictions by saying those are reasons only known to Allah and Allah only. Because if we as human beings could see how illogical and contradictory these Quranic facts are, we don't have to be the God to know this was all a fairy tale. And even if it was reasons only known to him, Allah? By presenting such a text, which is Qur'an, in such contradictory and illogical manner. And if you still accept Islam by saying reasons only known to Allah and Allah only, it's a sin to think against Allah, it's a sin to question Allah. Just because you deny God, that's why you see contradictions. You ain't no better than a person who believes in Tooth Fairy, Santa Claus, Zeus, or whatever the myth that is out there. Would a just, a fair, and a loving being, a God, Allah, have accepted the challenge by Shaithan? It's like a 30-year-old man versus a 5-year-old girl. Even though Shaithan is the second most educated, still, compared to God, that's his status. It's a challenge that sends a bunch of other beings that Allah himself loves 7 times more than a mother to her child, to hell and suffer for eternity, which includes Shaithan himself, that Allah also loved very much. Why creating a son knowing that he would kill thousands more? Why giving birth to a being that you would love very much, knowing that he himself would suffer more than anybody and would take a lot more with him toward his own suffrage? Wouldn't you have avoided such if you would have known? Would you have sent your own son to hell? In all honesty, would you even do that to an enemy? Would you have put someone at a fork in the road, one road leading to hell and the other road leading to heaven, providing 50% chance? Why God created Shaitan or Satan that he loved, while knowing he himself would burn in hell even before creating him? Wasn't Shaitan created just so Allah could have an excuse to send a bunch of non-Muslims to hell? Isn't God the real sinner here for creating Shaitan while knowing what he's going to do and how he's going to end up? Didn't Allah create Shaitan just so he could cover up the lie that he loves all human beings? Does God make sense for doing all that? It's like me giving information about your whereabouts to a guy who wants to kill you. I wouldn't kill you myself because I love you. I would tell him not to kill you while knowing he's going to kill you anyways. But if anybody got a problem with that, hey, I told him not to kill you. And I love you 7 times more than your own mother. I love you 7 times more than your own mother. And if I'm talking about killing you, God is talking about sending someone to hell for eternity. God told you to love him, trust him, fear him, and never to doubt him, just so you wouldn't be aware of these facts. Wasn't that a bad storyline in Qur'an? Whoever wrote the Qur'an is a bad storyteller. If otherwise, please let me know. Allah created Shaitan just so he would have an excuse to create earth and put a bunch of humans there. He created Shaitan just so someone would challenge him, just so he could look like a hero. Since he created everything for a reason, that's probably why. Knowing ain't causing. Knowing is not causing, but knowing something bad and creating roots for it to happen is a crime, a sin, something that you should never do to anybody. If I was God or Allah, and if I knew that Shaitan would end up how he's gonna be, and what he would do to my other creations that I love very much, I wouldn't have created Shaitan. Therefore, I wouldn't have let any evildoers come into existence that I love, and all good people could enjoy heaven that I already know if I put them on earth, that they would do good deeds and worship me. No need for me to test them. And no need for Shaitan to be tortured, since he wasn't even created. Is it not clear that all these stories are just a made-up fairy tale? If you were raised in such a way to believe that 1 plus 1 equals 5, no matter how many times I prove you that 1 plus 1 equals 2, you would never believe me.